Hey folks, welcome back. Time for some more Fallout 2D20 RPG stuff. Today we're looking at the Settler's Guidebook. Gather your companions and build your settlements. I have to say I was really excited for this book. One of my favorite things in RPGs is the ability to develop something larger than your player character's party. So whether that be, a spaceship that you modify in Traveler or Star Trek Adventures, or whether it be a settlement that you build in the Wasteland in Fallout like this, or in Mutiny Zero, stuff like that. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I think it adds more kind of a long-term campaign playability to the RPG when they have those kind of functions, and it gives the players something to invest in, both their time and their efforts, and it also allows for a lot of emergent play. If you have a settlement, raiders might come, you have to make sure it's defended, you have to make sure people are happy, you have to make sure they're fed and have beds and all that kind of stuff. There's always something to do, so even if you don't have a particular quest line in mind, one will often emerge simply because of the presence of the settlement and other people trying to take your stuff. It gives that kind of open world feel that a game like Fallout really benefits from. So the Settler's Guide really digs into all that and gives you the ability to build and construct and defend your settlements and populate them with all kinds of interesting folk and robots and God knows what else. So as you can see, you have some new character origins, including the Commonwealth Minutemen, New California Republic, other robots, and more. You can build your own settlements, manage your settlers, build housing, shore up defenses, and grow a thriving community. You can make friends with your trusted companions, including new dog breeds, robots, or even faithful human and mutant allies that follow you through the wasteland. You can build your own automatrons with this handy guide, so you can mix and match your robot parts to make a truly unique robot companion. You can also unleash a new arsenal of weapons on your enemies and expand your armory with even more small guns, big guns, and energy weapons from across the wasteland and modify them more than ever before. That's fun. And finally, learn about the different factions you'll encounter and meet a host of new wastelanders from both the east and west coasts. There's loads of stuff in this book. It's just shy of 200 pages. It's about 196 pages. So there's a lot of content in here. So without any further ado, we'll just dive right in. We have the typical scary test pattern we'd probably see if there was a nuclear event. I've got our credits here and the table of contents. So it follows the usual color scheme of the TOC, which I like in Fallout. So the introduction, that sort of soft orange color. We've got player-facing stuff. We've got yellow here, so settler characters with new origins, perks, equipment, settlement rules, companions and automaton rules, new equipment, and then game mastering and NPCs, which are useful for GMs, are in green. You can see we go up traps are on page 189, and there's several pages of those, so we are just above the 190 page mark or so by the end of this thing. As usual, each chapter opens with a lovely 2-page spread of artwork. So we have Settling in the Wasteland. Another settlement needs your help. In the shadow of the nuclear annihilation in the North American Commonwealth, pockets of civilization endured its harsh nuclear winter. So of course we had the people who were fortunate and lived in the vaults, and then there were the survivors who tried to rebuild settlements on the surface. And what this section goes through here is a bit of sort of historical background of what happened after the war, which is pretty cool. So it talks about, for example, the ghoulish survivors of Vault 12 would form a settlement called Necropolis. There's various safe havens for disenfranchised ghouls. There's some really big and successful settlements, at least for a while, like the formation of the New California Republic. Then there was the Commonwealth, or centralized around the ruins of Boston. But so yeah, it goes through a bit of what happened in each of these regions in a nice tight little setup here. Then we go through the basic contents of the book. So we have our settler characters, settlement rules, companions and automatrons, equipment, game mastering tips, which includes things like reputation within your settlement, reputation with other factions, guides for building settlements. And then we have a whole bunch of new NPCs for Settlers of the Wasteland. A lot of these can be people that live in your settlements, and also it includes characters from different factions, as well as defensive measures that you can use in your settlement to protect it. Thank you for staying. Enjoy the new world. Let's go rebuild America. Thanks, Vault Boy. So now we get into our settler characters. So we have some new origins, perks, and equipment as well. We've got new origins. We've got the Commonwealth Minutemen. Protect the people at a moment's notice. That was the promise to live by. They were a unique brand of survivors in the Commonwealth who put others before themselves. So they have the trait United We Stand. Trade caravan posts in your settlements attract traders every 5 days rather than 7. Settlements you establish by any means have a base defense resource of 4. You gain either energy weapons or small guns as a bonus tag skill, your choice. And your damage resistance is increased by +1 while in cover, and you deal +1 dice damage while you and your companions are outnumbered. We also have the citizens of New California, which have their own look here. So they go through a little bit of their history in the NCR, and then we have a bunch of new possible traits. So you can choose 2 of the following traits, 2 from the survivor origin, or 1 trait from either list and 1 additional perk. Each trait has a benefit and may have an accompanying penalty. So you can be good-natured, which means you can tag 2 of either speech, medicine, repair, science, and barter, with a penalty of the maximum rating for the other skills listed is reduced from 6 to 4. You could be a grunt to get +1 dice damage with submachine guns, combat rifles, assault rifles, frog grenades, and combat knives, with the penalty of the complication range of tests while making an attack with big guns or energy weapons is increased by 2. You could be home on the range, so whenever you sleep by a campfire for at least 6 hours, the difficulty to recover from injuries through rest is decreased by 1. However, you cannot gain a well-rested bonus as described in the core rulebook. Trigger disciplines: when you make range attacks with small guns or energy weapons, you can reroll 1d20. However, while you wield small guns and energy weapons, reduce their fire rate by 1. Finally, you could be a Brahmin Baron. So each Brahmin feed trough, which we'll see later in the book, provides upkeep for 3 Brahmin in each of your settlements. When you perform the 10 crop settlement action, you gain an additional +1 dice Brahmin milk per feed trough. On the other side, you roll +1d20 for determining the risk of attack to your settlement if its food resource exceeds the settlement's people. So the traits for New Californians provide rules that are tailored to the New California Republic origin, but they can be used by those with a survivor background too. Then we have Protectrons, these guys here. So this is a new type of robot PC that you can play. So these again were manufactured by Robco Industries as inexpensive work drones, and there are a few different factory models. There were office models with administrative software, firefighter models, medic models, police models. You might have come from one of these general lines or a different one entirely. Your body is sort of humanoid in shape and has light armor. It's not really designed for combat, and you speak in a robotic monotone, but basically most Protectrons will do almost anything to defend their allies. Your original programming at this point still drives your behavior and actions, but you might have become a bit sort of twisted over the many years that you've been out in the wasteland, which makes sense. It's up to you as a player to determine whether your ancient programming will define you or whether you define who you are by your own directives. You might even achieve true self-awareness and resist your programming. So you have a trait called Protect or Destroy. So once per scene, you may reroll a test to overcome an environmental hazard and use the new results. You're also immune to disease, radiation, and poison damage, but you cannot use chems, nor can you benefit from food, drink, or rest. You can't recover from your injuries or heal health points without receiving repair. So this is a basic robot thing. Protectrons are designed for a specific purpose and contain additional mechanisms to support their program tasks. You cannot have more than 2 robot mods simultaneously. When you determine what your model is, like a fire brigadier, law enforcer, construction worker, medical responder, or a model of your own invention, you'll get packets of equipment that relate to those specific functions. Then it has a list of the general Protectron weapons. So claws, do 3 dice physical damage, and benefit from your melee damage derived statistic and perks for unarmored attacks. Cryojet, which can be used to freeze targets. You can self-destruct, so you explode and cannot be repaired, but you make a ranged attack using endurance plus explosives, dealing 6 dice energy damage with the blast effect at close range. Finally, you have Shock Hand. You can make an unarmed attack with a pair of statically charged defibrillators. These hands inflict 4 dice energy damage and can benefit from your melee damage derived statistic and perks for unarmed combat, but you can't manipulate fine objects due to the lack of claws. Then we have the Robo Brain. These are kind of creepy. So these are basically robots that are integrated with a human brain as a CPU. So you have visual sensors that can detect the visual spectrum in infrared, ignoring any difficulty increase to perception tests in darkness. You're also immune to radiation poison damage, but can't use chems, nor can you benefit from food, drink, or rest, blah, 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 the usual robot stuff. You move on 2 continuous tracks and have tube-like manipulators as arms. With opposable claws you can use to control tools and objects designed for humans with precision and make unarmed melee attacks. Your head has a built-in mesmetron, which you can use to make range attacks. Your carry weight is 150 pounds, and it cannot be increased by your strength or perks, but it can be increased by modified armor. So you don't have any memory of your former life, basically. They do have some strange personality traits and can be inexplicably violent. Merging a human brain with a robot body is not necessarily always successful, but you can find them in all corners of the wasteland, these robo brains. Definitely could have some fun role-playing this, I think. Then we got another new robot, Securitron. These were created by Robco Industries as well. The PDQ-88B Securitron is a top-of-the-line private security robot capable of varied combat operations given the appropriate upgrade. It has its own hit location chart because instead of legs, it has a single wheel. So you have forward-facing visual sensors that can detect the visual spectrum. It has the usual robot stuff, and you move on a single tire, increasing the difficulty of skill tests to balance or remain upright by 1. Your arms are fitted with opposable claws, with which you can manipulate your environment rudimentarily and make unarmed melee attacks. The palms of your claws are outfitted with integrated weapons, as outlined in Choose Equipment, page 95. Your shoulders house missile launchers and a grenade launcher is integrated into the left arm, but they are both inoperable unless you're fitted with the Mark II operating system mod. Much like the Robo Brain, your carry weight is 150, and you can only increase that through modified armor. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting one as well. Non-humanoid in shape. Then we have our synths. So this is the Generation 3 synth, biosynthetic humanoid, almost entirely indistinguishable from humans. Now, these were created by a secret scientific organization known as the Institute. You were designed to integrate into human society, infiltrate communities, and explore the surface undetected. But you may have escaped from the Institute to try and have your own life as well. If you work for the Institute, though, you may be trying to infiltrate a group group or settlement in the Commonwealth, take the place of a real wastelander and live their life, and provide intelligence for the secretive organization. So you want to discuss the nature of your synth character's recall code. The recall codes basically erase your character's personality and consciousness suddenly. You want to determine whether you want those in your game, and if they are in the game, how they affect your character. So there might be an alternative, like it suggests here, that it doesn't permanently erase the personality, but incapacitates the synth until a unique restore code is spoken. You can also play as Generation 2 synths. They can keep the more than human trait, which is here for the Generation 3 synth, but noting that you're not bioengineered, you're constructed of machinery, and are obviously more android-like. Everybody knows that you're not human when they see you, but the other aspects of the trait remain true. The more than human trait itself says, although you appear mentally and physically human, your bioengineering makes you something entirely new, and in many ways improved. You gain an additional tag skill. Then there's the usual robot stuff. You're immune to poison, radiation damage, and disease. You do not age, nor do you gain or lose weight, and you don't have to sleep when you rest. You can't starve or dehydrate. Don't gain benefits from consuming food or beverages. When interacting with NPCs who know you are a synth, the difficulty of charisma tests made by you or your allies increases by 2. When a complication is rolled, they either become hostile, or your faction reputation or settlement reputation decreases by 1 per complication generated due to their fear of the Institute. The Institute has given you a unique recall code, an unalterable verbal command that resets your personality and memories. When you hear the code spoken, you become incapacitated until you are retrieved and restored by the Institute. So that's constant danger if you manage to escape from the Institute's control. Then we got some new perks as well. There's some cool stuff in here. So Ammo Smith, this allows you to craft ammunition, which wasn't possible using the abilities in the core book. At rank 1, you can craft ammunition up to rarity 1. At rank 2, you can craft ammunition up to rarity 3. And you can dismantle ammunition, gaining half the materials normally required to craft it. At rank 3, you can craft ammunition up to rarity 5. And when crafting ammunition, you can roll a number of dice equal to 6, reduced by the rarity of the ammunition being crafted. Every hit rolled increases the amount of ammunition crafted by +1. For every effect roll, double the amount of ammunition crafted. You can also have the bodyguard talent, which I like. So each player character and companion other than yourself within close range of you increases your damage resistance and energy resistance by +1. So you're kind of huddling amongst your peers and get a bonus to your defense from that. You can be a community organizer, so that gives you perks for your thriving settlement. For each rank, you get +1 food and +1 defense per day, so long as the resource is maintained by at least 1 person. Additionally, add +1 die for the settlement actions hunting and gathering, as well as scavenging. Contractor, which makes it easier to build structures for your settlement. You have covert operators, which helps your sneak attacks. Enforcer lets you target location with your shotgun and make the resulting injury debilitating. Green Thumb helps you grow plants and be better at foraging. Gun Runners, you can spend 1 AP to move an additional zone when you take a sprint action with a one-handed weapon. Happy Camper, so that helps you basically deal with your hunger while you're at camp. You can have hired help, so this requires you don't already have a companion, but this allows you the ability to recruit a humanoid companion, and you gain an allied NPC creature that follows your commands. They care for themselves with their own food and beverages, and they recover from injuries as a player character would and can benefit from healing. Home Defense, which helps you set traps for your property from intruders. You can be a homebody, so if you are in a settlement you belong to, you don't need to sleep to recuperate. You can be a local leader, so you have some influence on the development of settlements and communities. You can establish supply lines with friendly communities. You can get lock and load, which basically increases the fire rate of your big guns. You can be a mechanical menace or class freak. So the mechanical menace affects robots, and class freak affects mutated humans. Basically, when a creature NPC with the chosen keyword would attack you, roll 1 die. On any result other than an effect, the creature chooses not to attack you. However, it may still attack another character it can target. In addition, when you attempt a charisma-based skill to influence a character with the applicable keyword, you may reroll 1d20. Nocturnal Fortitude, so you have to be not a robot for this, and at night your maximum HP is increased by an amount equal to your endurance. Panopictographist, which allows you to re-roll the results of a magazine roll if it's a magazine or issue you've already found. Pharmacist heals 2 radiation damage from right away rather than 1. At rank 3 it heals an additional 3 radiation damage, and at rank 3 it heals an additional 4 radiation damage. You'll be a quack surgeon. You can use alcoholic beverage during a first aid action and get additional HP for your patient for the amount the beverage normally heals. Heal 2 HP per AP spent. The ally also receives the benefits and drawbacks of consuming the beverage. Robot Wrangler, so this allows you to have a robot companion. So this again requires you don't already have a companion, so you can choose to have 1 companion, but not more than 1 at the same time. This one gives you a robot companion that serves as a friend and ally in the hazards of the wasteland. Again, detailed in Chapter 3. So you need to repair them if they have injuries or need health points repaired. There are lots of different options for this companion, which you'll find again in Chapter 3. Super Duper. So this means when you craft an item, roll 1 die. If you roll any effects, you regain half the components you spent rounding down. Check each rarity of the components separately and regain half of each rounding down. At rank 2, you roll 2 dice. At rank 3, you roll 3 dice. Then we've got taking one for the team. So you step in to take damage for an ally in the same zone as you, as long as you roll one die and get a result other than an effect. This perk can only trigger once per round of combat per rank you have in the perk. At rank 2, if you take damage from the attack after calculating damage reduction, add 1 AP to the pool for each rank you have. That's pretty cool. At rank 3, after you've taken the damage, you and the ally can reroll 1d20 on the next attack you make against a target that attacked for each rank you have in this perk. Tinkerer, so that reduces the difficulty of repairing a robot through the first aid action to the number of injuries it has sustained, increasing the difficulty of the test by +1 if you're attempting to repair yourself. Additionally, you can tinker and clean a robot for up to an hour, increasing the maximum HP of the robot by +2 for 24 hours or until the robot sustains an injury. And now we have our equipment packages. So once you've created your characters, you've calculated their derived statistics and all that sort of stuff, then you get into your equipment packages for these new origins. So we have the Rifleman package for a Commonwealth middleman. If you chose to be a rifleman, you get casual clothing, casual hat, like a tricorn hat, either a leather chest piece or leather armor for one of your arms, your choice, a laser musket with fusion cell containing 14 + 7 die shots, or a hunting rifle with 6 + 3 die rounds of .308 ammunition, 2 rolls on the random food table, 1 personal trinket, and 5 caps. If you're tough, then you like to get up close and personal, which means you get casual clothing, army helmet, metal armor chest piece, double-barreled shotgun with 6 + 3 dice shotgun shells, or a submachine gun with 8 + 4 dice rounds of .45 caliber ammunition, 1 roll on the random chems table, 1 personal trinket, and 5 caps. Then we've got the NCR background packages. So if you're a trooper for the NCR, you get military fatigues, an army helmet, a combat rifle with 8 + 4 dice rounds of .45 ammunition, or a combat shotgun with 6 + 3 dice shotgun shells, 10mm pistol with 8 + 4 dice rounds of 10mm pistol ammo, or a combat knife, 1 roll on a random food table, 1 purified water ration, and 5 + 5 dice NCR dollars. You specialize as a marksman. You're a sniper, basically. So you have a narrower scope in your equipment, but you're really good at what you do. So you have your military fatigues and helmet again. Then you get a hardened hunting rifle with a long scope and 6 + 3 dice shots of .308 ammunition. You get 1 Calmex dose, 1 random US Covert Operations manual issue, and 1 roll on the random food table. Finally, you can be a Crimson Caravaneer. So if you're striking out from the NCR settlements, stocking up with supplies, you can drive a convoy, and you'll get the following equipment: tough clothing, leather armor chest piece or leather armor arm piece, and a leather armor leg, your choice of which arm and leg. Get a double-barreled shotgun with 6 + 3 dice shotgun shells, or a 44 caliber pistol with 4 + 2 dice shots of 44 caliber ammunition, a combat knife or a pair of knuckles, a pack of ramen, 1 personal trinket, 5 rolls on the foraging table, 3 of each result, 2 rolls on the random beverages table, a deck of cards, and 2d20 NCR dollars. And it gives you the exchange rate here as well. So NCR dollars are kind of exchangeable with bottle caps. Then we have our Protectron origins. I love this piece of artwork here. The Protectron in his fire brigade regalia looks really cool. So he's got a hose attachment there and a fire axe. So if you're a baseline Protectron, you get standard equipment. So standard plating, claws, 2 laser guns integrated into your hands, a fusion cell with 14 + 7 dice shots for your laser guns, recon sensors, a hazard detection mod, a robot repair kit, and 20 caps. If you're a fire brigadier, or a cool looking guy here, then you get standard plating, a cryojet integrated into the left hand, which can freeze opponents as well as stop fires, a cryo cell containing 14 + 7 dice shots, an axe as a right hand, hazard detection mod or sensor array, 1 stim pack, and 10 caps. Protectron Medic, he looks cool as well. You can see his defibrillator hands there, sparking away. They come with standard plating, shock hands, diagnosis mod, 2 stim packs, and 1 radaway. So they're really good as support characters. The utility Protectrons are meant for heavy duty work. They get factory armor on the main body and arms. They have a claw and one of the following weapons: sledgehammer, baton, or railway rifle with 6 + 3 dice railway spikes. And it ignores the 2-handed quality because they're big, strong robots. You get a hazard detection mod or sensor array and a robot repair kit. If you're a Nukatron, this was a collaboration between Robco and Nuka-Cola. Part bottling plant worker, part soda machine, all party automatons. So you get standard plating, a claw, a behavioral analysis mod, or integral boiler mod, 1 perfectly preserved pie, and 4 Nuka-Colas or 2 Nuka cherries. Finally, you have the Protectron X, so you're modified from standard factory lines, and you're some sort of prototype. You get standard plating, claws, 1 of the following: factory armor on main body and arms, behavioral analysis mod, diagnosis mod, hacking module, or hazard detection mod, 1 of the following: radiation coils, recon sensors, or sensor array, and 1 of the following weapons: machete, aluminium baseball bat, or a syringe with 10 shots of bleed out. Finally, you get 1 roll on the oddities and valuables loot table, or 1 robot repair kit. Then we move on to the Robo Brains. So you can be a servo mech. So you're salvaged or modified from a factory model, and you've got sort of jury-rigged armaments. You get a mesmetron, which is integrated into the head, a Tesla rifle, a smoke claw, a fusion cell with 14 plus 7 dice shots, 2 robot repair kits, a casual hat or a formal hat, and 1 personal trinket. Army model was outfitted for military clients. So you get your mesmetron, again, integrated into the head, 2 smoke claws, a fusion cell with 14 plus 7 die shots, a combat rifle with 8 plus 4 dice rounds, so 45 ammunition, factory armor on torso, left arm, and right arm. Then finally, you can be a errant personality. So you've been on a journey, and your personality is somewhat unrecognizable from your factory default. In this case, you get a mesmetron again. Any 2 of the following weapons as arm attachments: smoke claw, Tesla rifle, flamer, laser gun, or sledgehammer. A fusion cell containing 14 plus 7 dice shots, or flamer fuel for 12 plus 6 dice shots. 2 personal trinkets, and 1 roll on the random oddities and valuables table, and 10 caps. Then you got the Securitrons. These are the guys that roll around on 1 wheel. They get an automatic laser gun, a laser gun with an automatic barrel integrated into the left arm with a fusion cell containing 14 plus 7 die shots, a submachine gun integrated into the right arm with 8 plus 4 dice rounds of 45 ammunition, a missile launcher inoperable mounted into the shoulders, a grenade launcher inoperable integrated into the left arm, factory armor for the torso, head, and arms, and a printer that can receive broadcasts and print leaflets in black ink. Then we have Generation 3 synth packages, finally. So you've got the Infiltrator package. So you're designed to infiltrate one of the Commonwealth settlements to serve the interests of the Institute. You get tough clothing, a baseball bat or switchblade, a pipe gun with 10 plus 5 die rounds of 38 caliber ammo, or a 10mm pistol with 8 plus 4 die rounds of 10mm ammo, 1 personal trinket, cover possession. So you roll 2 rolls on the random chems, random food, or random beverages tables. You can be a synth seeker. So you're originally designed to travel the byways of the Commonwealth in search of resources, new settlements, and sometimes fugitives from the Institute. You can easily embed yourselves with traders, scavengers, or mercenaries. You get tough clothing, a leather armor chest piece or a leather armor arm and leather armor leg, knuckles or a lead pipe, 1 ranged weapon from the following: 10mm pistol, flare gun, or hunting rifle, 3 plus 3 die ammunition for the chosen ranged weapon above, 2 rolls on the random ammo, random chems, or random food tables. Very cool. Got a nice 1-page spread here with some synths as well. And we got a 2-page spread to open the real meat of the book here. This is the settlements chapter. I'm going to try not to get too lost in the details here, but you know how I am. I'm an academic. Getting lost in the details is kind of my whole area. There's a lot to be taken into account when you're building a settlement here. There's lots of things you can do with your settlements. It really can make for a completely different style of gameplay if you use this guidebook and integrate settlements into your game. So there are different ways of founding a settlement. One of them is to do it from scratch, which is challenging. The other one is to take what you want. So if you see somebody having a settlement, you can make a plan to take it over and kick them out, but then you might be at risk of them, rebuilding and coming back for revenge, stuff like that. The third option, which is finding ruins or abandoned spaces in the wasteland and setting up camp in there. So you may have to reoccupy them from feral ghouls or other weird creatures and repair some crumbling structures to make them safe again, but then you've got a kind of pre-existing framework around which you can start building a safe haven. So it's pretty cool. There's different ways to do that. Settlement has a bunch of attributes for itself as well. So you have people, the number of people present in a settlement. The settlement's maximum people is 10 plus the settlement leader's charisma score plus any additional bonuses from perks. This maximum doesn't include the player characters or any of their companions. Unsurprisingly, you then have a food stat. So that is an abstracted score reflecting the amount of food the community produces. Regular actions like farming, hunting, foraging, and trade can all contribute to the food score. The food score must equal or exceed the number of people in the settlement to avoid problems. As with food, you then have a water score, so that's how much clean water you have. And again, you have to equal or exceed the settlement's people to avoid problems. Then you have power. It isn't super necessary, but a few structures might require power to function. For example, if you have like a water purifier, you'll need power to make that work. Powers can come from generators built within the settlement or from some external source that you may have found or snatched from somewhere. Then we have defense, so that's how well the settlement resists external attacks and how difficult raiders might consider the settlement to raid. Various sources contribute to this, including turrets, traps, guards, posts, and watchtowers, all that kind of stuff. Then you have the number of beds. So a settlement requires beds, and it'll probably have problems if you have fewer beds than people. Beds not contained within structures that provide shelter don't count. People will sleep in them if need be, but they won't be happy about it. So you need to have like purpose-built sleeping places with beds in them for them to really count. Then you'll have a happiness score between 1 and 20. So a settlement's happiness will be low if the needs of the people are not met, and it will be high if the settlement's needs are met or even exceeded. A higher happiness may even result in some parts of a settlement operating more effectively. Finally, you have income, so that measures the quantity of valuable goods and caps coming into the settlement. Income can be left within settlement or withdrawn to turn it into caps for the player characters. It notes as well that you can have robot PCs, companions, or residents. They don't eat, drink, or sleep, so they don't contribute toward the people score, and they don't take up any food, water, or beds. Robots, for that reason, are really useful for defending a settlement, because they don't take any of the resources that the people need, They don't need to sleep, and they can keep watch 24 hours a day. So then you have your settlement needs and actions. So settlements are managed in turns that represent a day. So first you need leadership. The settlement's leader can be a player character or an NPC, and it can be literally anyone, it says. It could be a family member if it's a small settlement of just one family. If the settlement is bigger, the settlers may nominate somebody or vote on somebody. They may rely on whomever led them before they founded the settlement. If the player character's leader run a settlement, they should decide amongst themselves who counts as the leader. So obviously you want somebody with a good charisma score for that. If the PC is required to leave, though, for more than a day and they are the leader, they need to appoint a deputy leader to take control while they're gone. Then you check the settlement's needs and happiness. So when first established, settlement has a happiness of 10 that will change over time. So at the start of each day, you check their conditions. If there are enough beds, if no, reduce happiness by 1. If there's enough food, and the answer is no, reduce happiness by 1. If there's enough water, fine. If not, reduce happiness by 1. If the settlement is adequately defended, so the defense attribute is not lower than the people attribute, then you're fine. Otherwise, reduce happiness by 1. Objects and structures which modify happiness do so at once at the moment they are created. If those items are destroyed or disassembled, then the modifier to happiness they provided is removed as well. If the settlement's happiness drops below the number of people, then at the end of the day, one person in the settlement leaves, seeking a better life elsewhere. Oh no. Each settlement will have a stockpile, which is surplus goods, salvage, and stuff like that. By default, this contains up to 300 pounds of items, but you can increase that with storage space from structures and rooms that you add to the settlement. The settlement can, at the start of any day, use 2 food items in the stockpile to increase its food score by +1, and you may, at the start of day, use any 2 beverage items in the surplus to increase its water score by +1. If the beverage items, however, were irradiated, this reduces the settlement's happiness by 1. So then each day you take some settlement actions. So one person in the settlement can perform a single action each day. Multiple people can be assigned to the same action. Each person assigned to the action gains the listed benefit, and if a task requires multiple days to complete, multiple people may divide that work between them. So you have things like hunting and gathering. So you send people out into the community to try and secure food. It's unreliable, so you roll 3 dice and add the total roll to the community's food score for the following day. For each effect, add +1 random foraging item to the settlement stockpile. For each additional person assigned, add +1 die to the roll. Scavenging, so you go out to the surrounding area looking for other supplies than food, so you roll 3 die, and the character returns with a quantity of common materials equal to the total rolled. They also manage to collect 1 uncommon material for each effect rolled. These are added to the stockpile. They can guard, so an armed member of the community patrols the settlement, adding +1 to defense that day. The bonus is increased if settlement has any guard posts and towers. Finally, you can build something, so this often will take multiple days to complete. Then you have actions that can only be attempted if you have specific things, so if you have crops, then you can tend them. A single member of the community can tend up to 6 crops during a day. Every 2 crops tended grants +1 to the settlement's food for the day, rounded down. If the community's food score is above the number of people, each additional point produces a single food item. Roll on the foraging table to determine what is produced. You can have a trade caravan if you have a trade outpost. So you travel to a nearby settlement seeking to trade, and then you can do business. So a member of the community operates a store. Different stores have different effects. See page 50. Then at the end of the day, you check the settlement events. So there's a risk of attack each day. If either food or water exceeds the settlement's people, or 2d20 if both food and water exceed people. If either die exceeds the settlement's defense, then there's likely to be an attack. The GM should secretly roll 3 dice. The total rolled is the number of days until the next attack. If the total rolled is 0, the attack occurs the next day. See settlement attacks for further details, much later in the book. Once an attack has been determined, don't roll again for the risk of attack until 5 days after the attack has actually happened. Then you have some end of day effects. So some settlement objects will be resolved at end of day, and that's where you handle them at the end of that settlement turn. So the settlement is, it's very structured. Like you have particular activities to keep it going. You'll need to assign people to those. The bigger your settlement gets, the easier it'll be to handle larger tasks like tending big crops or sending out trade caravans, operating businesses, all that kind of stuff. Then you have objects within your settlement. You'll have the object's name or basic description, the materials required to construct it, the time it takes to construct it, the effect it has on the settlement, perk required to create the object, so nobody can start building it unless you have that perk, at least one of them. The skill ranks required, so if you need a certain skill with a certain number of ranks, that'll be noted there. And then the rarity of the knowledge of how to build that objects. So uncommon objects are known only by characters with the perk listed in the perk column. Rare objects are known only to characters who have learned a specific recipe, perhaps from a book or magazine, or given as a reward for completing a quest or aiding an NPC. So that's pretty interesting as well. And then we got all of our different kinds of structures. So basic structures like small shacks, medium shacks, and large shacks. You need a whole bunch of common materials, a varying amount of days depending on the size. And they give you rooms, which you can then use to put beds in, for people to stay in. For each size of shack, you need a corresponding larger level of the repair skill. But they're common, so everybody knows how to build a shack. You can also build taller buildings with multiple stories as well. Then regarding the rooms, so those will be areas within your structures. You can have different kinds of rooms. So a private room, you'll get +1 bed, +1 happiness, and 100 pounds of storage. That's one example. For a dormitory, you get +4 beds, but -1 happiness. Quarters will give you +2 beds and 100 pounds of storage. A lounge will give you +2 happiness, but no beds. Storage will give you 300 pounds of storage and nothing else. And an office will give you +1 happiness, 100 pounds of storage, and a special benefit. So offices can be assigned to specific actions or objects elsewhere in the community, granting bonuses to help keep the settlement running efficiently. One office may serve as the mayor's office, providing a place for the settlement's leader to organize and oversee matters. Having a mayor's office allows one person in the settlement to take 2 actions rather than 1 each day as the day's work become efficiently organized. And we've got power generators. So these are objects that generate electricity. Each one will generate a certain amount of power. Some of them can be real difficult to build. Some of them will be noisy, which will be disruptive to community. Add +1 to one of the dice rolled for each noisy item to determine if a settlement is attacked. So the more noisy your settlement is, the more noticeable it is to potential raiders. So we get simple stuff like windmills, which are common, small generators, and medium generators. Then large generators and fusion reactors, we get into uncommon. Fusion reactors give 100 power, but they take 30 days to build and a lot of rare materials. Large generators are noisy, and medium generators are also noisy, so watch out for that. Power pylons can transmit power, which is pretty cool, from one location to another. If you add lights, you get +1 happiness, but you'll need to pay power for those. Radio beacons, they cost 1 power and attract people. It says most of the time, though, large generators and fusion reactors are too large to fit within the structure you create for a settlement. However, it may be that your settlement is built somewhere with pre-existing structures large enough to house a large reactor. At the GM's discretion, you may construct a large generator or fusion reactor indoors if there's a space large enough to contain them. So that may mean you need to find a big cave or ruin or something. Then we got our defense items you can build. So we have a bunch of common ones: guard post, alarm siren, machine gun turret, and spotlight turret. And then the uncommon stuff, we have the heavy machine gun turret, the laser turret, and heavy laser turret. So these all add to your defense, and some of them require power as well. But these are very important for defending your settlement from potential raiders. The heavy laser turret is a formidable amount of damage, but is energy based, and you'll need to have fusion cells to power it. Laser turret is profiled in the core rulebook, as are the other machine gun turrets. The spotlight turret locks on to enemies when they get close enough, so you can see them even if it's dark. The siren will alert the settlement to danger, which can rouse everybody and make sure you're ready to defend. Guard posts give you a rallying point during attack and give you 2 dice of cover during a firefight. That's pretty cool. Then you've got your resources. So this is stuff like water pumps, powered water pumps, water purifiers, industrial water purifiers, which are uncommon, garden plots, crops, scavenging stations, trade caravan posts, and Brahmin feed troughs. Note that trade caravan post is rare, but the other ones are not so difficult. The Brahmin feed trough feeds 2 Brahmin, and those are useful because they produce Brahmin milk that reduces your radiation damage, so that's handy. A lot of these are in fact kind of essential for a large settlement because you'll need a source of purified water, you'll need crops to have a renewable source of food. Some of them will require power, like the powered water pumps and water purifiers and stuff, but the benefits hugely outweigh the costs over the long term, and describes each of them in detail along here as well. Then we got stores. So there are different kinds of stores that can appear in your settlement. You can have a trading stand, which will give you +1 happiness and an income of 1. A trading shop gives you +2 happiness and income of 2. Trading emporium, +3 happiness, income of 3, and you get +1 die per salvage action. A first aid station will give you +1 happiness and income of 1. A clinic gives you +2 happiness, income of 2. And a surgery center will give you +3 happiness, income 3, and roll +1 die per salvage action again. So stores will benefit as well from having an office. So a store with its own office counts as income as 1 higher because it's better organized and managed, which is pretty cool as well. They talk about the different kinds of trading stores. You can have armor stores, weapon stores, food and drinks, clothing, medical stores, and what they do. So they can heal HP and injuries, purge rads with Radaway for a certain cost, of course, and they can cure addictions with a dose of Addictol. Then you've got your crafting stations. So these are always useful to have. Your armor workbench, chemistry station, cooking station, power armor station, weapons workbench, and robot workbench. These are all really useful to have. They are uncommon rarity, however, so a little bit more difficult. You need some rare materials and uncommon materials for some of them. But they do allow you to sort of outfit your settlement members and your own party much more readily. Then we have all the comforts of home. So this is about, why do you want to settle down? basically in the wasteland rather than wandering about. Basically, it gives you a place to have rest and relaxation. It gives you a place to be safe. You can sort of work together to mount defenses against horrible people like raiders and super mutants and so forth that might be rampaging around. Each person in the settlement is also a potential ally. So, you can work together, build a reputation. You can then gain links with other communities. You can trade with them. You have your own reputation within the community as well. So this table here outlines, what your reputation rank is with a settlement. A rank of 0 means that the settlement is hostile to you, all the way up to 5, which means people here see you as their family, thick as blood. They offer you gifts when you leave to make your journey easier. If they hear you're in trouble elsewhere, they may even assemble a party of found family to cross the waste and come to your aid. How awesome is that? So there are loads of benefits to having a community that you built and put together, particularly if you're an essential part of it. People look to you for leadership as well. But you can gain or lose reputation. So if you take positive actions like completing a quest for the settlement, abiding by their laws, to defeat one of their enemies, come to their aid during an attack, complete an objective without charging them, give them gear supplies, those are all positive things. If your quest was failed, or you broke the laws, you sided with the enemies, you didn't heed their call for aid, you allowed the killing of settlers or their allies, stealing from them, that kind of stuff, all of that obviously reduces your reputation, and eventually they might kick you out. Basically, if you drop to 0 with your reputation, then they'll force you out of the settlement. Then we got some info on trade and income. Basically, when trading, a settlement can do any of the following. They can reduce the total food score and gain 1 income plus 1 die income for every point of food reduced. You can reduce the water score and gain 1 income plus 1 die income for every point of water reduced. Or you can spend 1 or more income and receive X dice of food, where X is the amount spent. If the total rolled is 0, counted as 1. So you always get at least 1 food. Or the settlement can spend 1 or more income and receive X dice of water, where X is the amount spent. Total rolled is 0, counted as 1. So basically, you can put food and water out and get income in, or you can put income out and receive food or water in. So you can also cash out as well. If you attempt a charisma plus barter test with a difficulty based on how the player character's reputation, success allows the group to cash out 1 income plus 1 for every AP spent after the successful test. You then receive 1d20 caps for each point of income you cashed out. So it shows your table here, your reputation and the corresponding difficulty of the test. Any d20 that rolls under the player character's reputation with the settlement counts as equal to the character's reputation instead. Player characters must be part of the settlement to do this. Oh, and as for trading, you can also have a trading outpost and assign an office to it. It doesn't require any people actions to work there, but having a place to handle record keeping and counting caps mean that you may reroll up to 3 dice rolled as part of a trade. And then they give you some examples of pre-made locations which could serve as the basis for a settlement. So you've got an old farmstead. So you've got a problem there in that there are 6 to 10 feral ghouls in the farmhouse they have to clear out. You've got a structure of the farmhouse, which is a large structure with a medium structure as an upper floor. There's 2 quarters on the upper floor, each with 2 beds. One of the rooms on the ground floor is a lounge with +2 happiness, and it contains a semi-functioning kitchen, which works as a cooking station. Then you have 2 unused rooms on the ground floor. The barn is a large building. Part of it is a storage room, able to store 600 pounds of items. The rest of the barn can either be used as 2 rooms or contain a large generator or fusion reactor. Very cool. Outside the barn is a water pump and a Brahmin feed trough. The fields are overgrown and will take 2 days work, or 1 day with 2 people, to clear. Once cleared, it's good dirt for growing. Between the farmland and the old farming tools, 1 10 crops action can tend to 12 crops rather than 6, allowing 1 person to provide +6 food. Awesome. Red Rocket truck stop. So you've got a pack of mongrel dogs that need to be cleared out. It's a large structure. The old manager's office could still serve as an office, while the old storefront could be a store, or the shelves would make it a good storage room. The garage is unused, except for the armor workbench and power armor station. You've got a roof of the building, which is large, broad, and solid enough to be built on. And the ground out front is covered in thick concrete and can't be planted on, but there is a water pump and space behind the building which is enough for 12 crops in a patch of polluted dirt. So you'll need to trade for food if the settlement gets too big. Then you have an abandoned munitions factory, an imposing sturdy structure with a raider gang you need to clear out, 12 to 15 people. You also need to find and reset the building's circuit breakers. So this is a highly sought after location for raiders and settlers. Always roll 1d20 to determine whether the settlement comes under attack, plus 1d20 if food exceeds people, plus 1d20 if water exceeds people. If any of these roll above defense, the settlement will come under attack as described before. The factory is a huge 2-story structure, and each floor contains sufficient space for 5 rooms. Upstairs has an office and a lounge, and 3 rooms the raiders fill with junk and filth. Downstairs has a large storage room with an additional 600 pounds of storage and 2 impromptu dormitories. The machine shop has a weapons workbench, armor workbench, and chemistry station. Characters with the ammo smith perk can craft double the normal amount of ammo here. That's awesome. The basement contains a functional large generator, which is currently inactive until the circuit breakers are reset, but this is only the backup generator. This factory is still connected to a nearby power station. The settlement would have nearly limitless power if the generator could be brought online, giving it a power attribute of 200. The grounds around the factory are gravel and concrete, leaving very little space for growing things. So this is just 3 quick examples. I mean, you could be very creative about, ruins and various buildings out in the wasteland that could serve as the beginnings of a settlement. And these are 3 very cool examples that you can drop into any exploration of the wasteland. Then they give you a full example settlement as well, which is very cool. So you can see the settlement of Nuke. This is nestled away to the north of the Appalachian Mountains. It's built just beyond its ruined town sign. It's a former private landing strip that now grows row upon rows of corn and meat fruit bushes along the length of its pre-war grass runway. The crashed commercial jet at the end of the runway now acts as a greenhouse, while its engines have been turned into wind turbines to power the housing located in the old hangar buildings. The small tower that once guided light aircraft to land is now a sniper's nest, a guard tower, and then we have its attributes here. So we've got 16 people, 27 food, 13 water, 12 power, 10 defense, 16 beds, 17 happiness, and income of 2. And then it's got a huge list of structures. You got a control tower, medium structure with a guard post and lights. You got your crashed jet, small structure with 4 wind turbines for 12 power, 3 garden plots, potato crops times 12, water pump and lights. Hangar B is a large structure with 3 dorms. There's 12 beds and lights. Hangar D is a large structure with 2 quarters for 4 beds, storage and lights. Hangar E, a large structure, has a lounge, office, trading shop, and lights. It's also got a trade caravan post, 27 times corn crops, 15 times meat fruit crops, and powered water pump. You have 9 people tending crops, 1 person trading, 1 person staffing the shop, and 5 people patrolling. And you've got a bunch of stuff in your stockpile as well. I like that there's this kind of busted up sign here. So it used to say, Newark. There you go. Well, obviously, it's a pun. So there you go. That's your settlement rules. Now we get into companions and automatrons, and these I really like. So, I'm a big fan of the dog meat perk and these adorable puppies as well. Who doesn't love puppies? So making friends is the theme of this chapter, and we go beyond just the dog meat perk that was in the core rulebook, where you get a dog as your friend. You can also get companions outside of combat, and they can do stuff outside of combat, but they're limited to, depending what the companion is. If you have a dog, they can't talk to somebody, but they can help you track things or look for prey or something like that. By the base rules, if a companion is reduced to 0 HP, they're not treated as dying, rather they're defeated, knocked down, and unable to contribute to the fight, but there's no risk of them dying. At the end of a fight, they recover with 1 HP remaining after a minute or so. This isn't strictly realistic, but it means you don't lose the benefits of a perk due to stray gunfire. I'm a big fan of that. There is a sidebar here that you could make companions follow the normal rules, where at 0 HP they're dying and must get stabilized, blah, blah, blah. But I think, if you spend a perk on getting a companion, then it's fine for them to be just incapacitated if they get to 0. You shouldn't lose the benefits of that perk, possibly permanently, just because of random bad luck. During combat, your companion will have the same initiative as you and will take actions as part of your turn, and they'll perform whatever minor actions are necessary to follow your orders. They can't attempt a major action that requires a test with difficulty above 0, and they may not roll dice for the skill test they attempt. If they're ever required to attempt a skill test for another reason, they automatically generate 0 successes. Your companion may use the assist action to aid you when you attempt a skill test, however. You may use the command and NPC major action to let your companion perform any major action. This is the only circumstance in combat in which they can roll for the skill test they attempt. If your character starts dying, you may immediately take control of your companion for the remainder of the scene, controlling them as if they were a normal character. It's fun. Details about companion levels and perks. So companions level up like player characters, as we saw with the dog meat perk. So companions that are listed as creatures, the body or mind is increased by +1 at 3rd level and every odd number level after that. In addition, they get HP +1 for every level gained, and with any increases to its body. Companions gain a perk at level 5 and every 5th level beyond that, and many companion perks also include gradual improvements in damage and damage reduction, and some creature companions can use equipment which improves damage or damage reduction. So you get armor for your dogs, for example, as we saw in the core rulebook. Then we have character companions, so they get +1 to one of their special attributes at 3rd level and every odd number level. At each level, the companion gains +1 health point, plus any increases from their endurance, and +1 to a single skill. Companions also get a perk at level 5 and every 5th level beyond that. They can use weapons, armor, and other equipment, and benefit from that improved gear just as player characters do. Then we have a list of companion perks. So they're designed specifically for companions, so they can have a sense of danger. So you can roll a die at the beginning of combat, and then add AP equal to the group pool from companion's warning equal to the total rolled on the die if X count is 1. Your companion can be aggressive, so it immediately generates 1 AP at the start of a scene. Companion can be coordinated. When you take a major action, if the companion does not assist, you may spend 1 AP to allow the companion to take a major action of your choice, rolling their own skill test as if they were a player character. You have fierce loyalty, so they add +1 to your defense while in the same zone as you, at the cost of being hit by any attack against you which suffers a complication. If you begin dying, your companion may spend your luck points and re-roll 1d20 on any attack made while within close range of you. Find the hidden path. Your companion can stay out of sight and guide you along unseen routes. They can assist you on sneak tests, in which they ignore the first complication generated on said sneak tests. They can be foragers, finding food and water for themselves in the wild, and they can often help their owner find additional supplies too. Whenever you scavenge and your companion assists, you reduce the difficulty by 1. In addition, if your test is successful, you may gain 1 bonus AP from your companion, which can only be spent to make an additional roll for an item. They can have helpful awareness, so they have keen senses, and when they assist their owner on any perception-based test, the difficulty of the test is reduced by 1. Judge of character. Oh, that's a good one for dogs. The companion has a sense for people and a strong reaction to anyone it regards as a threat. You can spend 1 luck point when you meet an NPC to let the companion make a perception plus observation test opposed by the NPC's charisma plus survival, and that will judge whether the NPC is a danger to the companion's owner. Very cool. They can be a pack hunter. The companion is used to hunting as a group. At the start of a scene, you can spend 1 luck point to declare the companion to be prowling and will not be present. They're somewhere nearby waiting. At any point during the scene, and at the start of any of your turns in combat, the companion may appear emerging from hiding. They may appear anywhere so long as there is darkness or some other sort of concealment. That's pretty cool. Soulful eyes. So few people find themselves able to dislike your companion. When you make a charisma plus speech test, the companion may assist, and you may reroll 1d20 from your dice pool. Teamwork. Your companion has been trained to accept commands from more than just a single owner. Each turn in combat, you can select a different ally within medium range, and the companion will assist that ally as if they were their owner. No character can be assisted by more than 1 companion per turn, however. They can be a tough old beast, so the companion's maximum HP is increased by an amount equal to your luck at 5th level, and every 5 levels afterwards at +1 to either the physical or energy damage resistance of the creature. Very cool. Then we got a few new friendly faces. So we had the basic dog companion listed on the dog meat perk in the core rulebook. Now we have a mongrel dog. So this is a level 1 mutated mammal. Got a body of 6 and a mind of 3, melee 2, guns 0, other 1, HP of 7, initiative as PC, defensive 1, immune to radiation damage, but has 0 DR for everything else. It's got a natural bite attack with 2 die with vicious physical damage. Target number of 8 for that one. Special abilities, it is aggressive. It's mostly feral. So attempts to persuade or influence it with speech tests increase in difficulty by +2. It will only respond to the simplest of commands. In your absence, it will move toward the nearest enemy, the nearest bright light, or the nearest loud noise. It's also an attack dog, as we saw, and a companion, so it goes through the typical leveling process that we saw for creatures. It can also carry up to 50 pounds of items. Then we have the junkyard dog. So they are a normal creature, so they can be selected by any wastelander or vault dweller who takes dog meat perk. They're not as aggressive as the other dogs, but they're highly perceptive, make for good guards or unearthing lost treasures. Body of 5, mind of 4, melee of 1, other of 2, HP of 6, defensive 1. They have 0 damage resistance to everything. They have a natural bite, target number of 6, 2 dice, vicious, and physical damage. They are a forager, as we saw under the perks section. They have special abilities as well of sense for danger and the, of course, companion special ability, and they can carry up to 50 pounds of stuff. And we've got hunting dogs. So these guys can be selected by any Brotherhood, Wastelander, or Vault Dweller. Body of mind of 4, melee 2, other 2, so they're a bit tougher. And no damage resistance of any kind. They've got a body plus melee, target number 7, 2 dice vicious, bite. They have the attack dog perk. They also are trackers and companions and can carry 50 pounds of stuff. Then you have a mutant hound. This is selectable by any super mutant character who takes the dog meat perk. They have body and mind of 6 and 3 respectively, melee of 2, other of 2, HP of 6, defensive 1. No damage resistance to anything. They have 2 die vicious, physical damage, bite. They are an attack hound. They're immune to radiation. Oh, well, that's good. Should kind of be listed here, I think, but it's not. They can do a warning howl, and they have, of course, the companion perk as well. And as usual, they can carry up to 50 pounds of stuff. Then we got our new robot companions for the new perk available in this volume. iBot Sentry is a level 1 robot. Can be chosen by anyone who takes the robot wrangler perk. They're small, nearly spherical robots that float around, broadcasting signals and old messages, but they're also useful sentries and scouts. They have body and mind of 4 and 4, 0 melee, 3 guns, 1 other, and HP of 5, defensive 2. Got physical and energy DR of 2, and they're immune to rads and poison. They have a laser attack, which does 4 dice energy damage, fire rate 0, so you can't spend additional ammo on it. Range medium. So they have all the effects of being a robot. They're immune to poison, immune to radiation, immune to disease, and they're little, so their normal HP is reduced to body plus half its level, but its defense increases by 1. Further, it is destroyed by any hit which inflicts an injury. That's the downside of them being small. They have the special ability to send radio transmissions. They have helpful awareness, which is one of the perks that we saw. And of course, they are a companion. They carry 50 pounds of items. It also carries fusion cells containing 6 plus 3 dice shots when first recruited. So that's for its laser gun. Then we have the Mr. Handy Valet. So again, any robot wrangler can use this. And they're fully statted out because Mr. Handies are like treated like full characters, so they have a special stats, pretty even across the board with a low luck score, however. They got tag skills and energy weapons and speech, HP of only 6, but this is just at level 1, of course. They've got energy and physical DRs of 1, and they're immune to radiation and poison. Carry weight 150. They have a pincer, buzzsaw, and flamer, which have piercing, physical, and persistent energy damage respectively. They are, of course, robots, immune to poison, immune to radiation, immune to disease. They have the Mr. Handy perks. They have 360-degree vision and reduced difficulty perception tests for sight and smell by 1. And it moves through jet propulsion, so it avoids difficult terrain and obstacles. Coordinated perk. You can spend 1 AP to allow the companion to take a major action of your choice when they don't assist you. The companion perk, of course, and they carry 8 plus 4 dice shots of flamer fuel when first recruited. Really cool. Then we have Protectron Bodyguard. Again, so any robot wrangler can use these. Body and mind of 4, so now we're dealing with creature stats again, which is interesting because Protectrons are treated as characters in this guidebook, but never mind. They got melee guns and other of 2 across the board, 6 HP, defensive 1, physical DR of 3, energy DR of 2, and they're immune to rads and poison. For attacks, they have a defibrillator, 4 dice stun energy damage, and arm lasers, 3 die burst piercing 1 energy damage, fire rate 4, range C for close. Of course, they're a robot. They're immune to poison, radiation, disease. They have fierce loyalty. They have the companion perk and helpful awareness as well. They can carry 50 pounds of stuff, and they have fusion cells containing 10 plus 5 dice shots for their arm lasers when first recruited. Then we have Wasteland character companions. These are fully statted as characters again. You can get super mutant muscle. So as long as you're not a Brotherhood of Steel character who takes the hard help perk, you can use this guy. He's got higher stats in strength and endurance because he's super mutant. Attack skills in melee weapons and survival. HP of 8 plus 1 die melee bonus. Energy and physical DR of 1. Immune to radiation and poison. He's got 3 die physical unarmed strike. 5 die physical baseball bat attack, which is 2-handed. He's got a long pipe rifle, which is small guns. 3 die physical damage. Fire rate 2, range medium. 2-handed and unreliable. He's got the barbarian special ability. Plus 1 to physical and energy damages. Increases to plus 2 when the super mutant strength increases to 9. And plus 3 when his strength becomes 11. And that stacks with armor as well. They're ready to fight. And they have the companion attribute. In their inventory, they have a long pipe rifle with 6 plus 3 dice shots of 38 caliber ammunition and the baseball bat, of course. And we have the Brotherhood Squire. So again, fully statted out NPC. They've got tag skills in energy weapons and science. They've only got a 2 in energy weapons, but they've got a 3 in science. Physical energy and rad DR of 1 in arms, legs, and torso, but no poison DR. An arm strike for just 2 dice. Laser pistol for 4 dice, piercing 1 energy damage, fire rate 2, range C, close quarters. They have the special abilities of Student of the Brotherhood, so they follow your orders quickly and efficiently. They also have the companion perk, of course, and they carry with them a Brotherhood of Steel uniform, laser pistol, fusion cell containing 6 plus 3 die shots, and Brotherhood holo tags. Then we have Brotherhood Field Scribes. They're not so tough, but they are more leaning towards the intelligent end of things, as you can see from their special stats here. They've got attack skills in science and speech, DRs of 1 for arms, legs, and torso for physical and radiation, and 1 energy DR for all locations, and 0 poison DR. He can do unarmed strikes for 2 dice physical damage, or a laser pistol for 4 dice piercing 1, fire rate 2, range C, close quarters. He's got pre-war expertise, so he can reroll 1d20 when using a skill test to examine, identify, repair, or use pre-war tech. He's also got the companion perk, and he carries with him a Brotherhood Scribe's armor, Brotherhood Scribe's hood, laser pistol, fusion cells with 4 plus 2 dice shots, Brotherhood holotags, and 4 plus 2 dice bobby pins. Handy. Then we have the hired guns. This is a normal human. They are ready for a fight and don't care much who they're fighting, so long as they get enough caps to pay for ammo, a bed, and a few drinks. Pretty even stats across the board. Not so smart, but they're pretty decent at other things. And they have tag skills in small guns and melee weapons, fitting with their description. They've got 1 physical and energy DR in arms, leg, and torso, 1 rad DR overall, locations, and 0 poison DR. They can do 2 die physical damage on armed strikes, 3 die piercing 1 physical damage with a combat knife, or 3 die burst physical damage, fire rate 3, range C, inaccurate and 2-handed with their submachine gun. They have the ready to fight perk, and we've got the companion, of course, as well. Inventory, they've got road leathers, combat knife, submachine gun, 10 plus 5 die shots of 45 caliber ammo for their submachine gun. And we can have a Minuteman ally as well. So his special stats are, again, pretty even across the board. Not a lot of luck. He's got tag skills in speech and survival. He's got 1 DR in physical and energy in arms, leg, and torso, but no rad or poison DR. He does does 2 die physical damage unarmed strike, 3 die stun damage with gun bash, and he's got a laser musket that does 5 die piercing 1 energy damage, fire rate 0, so you can't spend ammo to increase the damage, and 2-handed. He's also got the special abilities of a helping hand, so you can do major actions to help you in combat. Got the companion perk as well, and his inventory has tough clothing, a laser musket, fusion cell with 6+ 3 die shots, and 4+ 2 die bobby pins. Then we've got the option of building automatrons, which is really fun. So this is a new option if you want to really customize robots. So you'll need a robot workbench for this. It reminds you again of how you build a robot workbench and the materials required. It takes 4 days to build. It allows you to construct robots. You need the robotics expert perk 1 and the skill of repair. And it's uncommon, so it's not something that everybody knows how to build. So basically in this chapter, it teaches you how to build all the different components you need to compose a robot. What's interesting is that you can mix parts from different robot lines all together and make your own unique robot. Then we have a list here of their special abilities. So all robots you build will have the robot special ability, which we've seen many times before. Robots without propulsion will have the immobile special ability, so that means it can't take a move action. It can do a major action to crawl to any point within medium range if it has arms that are capable of that. Other parts provide certain special abilities as outlined throughout the chapter. Some info here about default personalities. Assaultrons are perfect soldiers. They're relentless in their pursuit of their objective, to the ignorance of self-preservation. Mr. Handy Lions are the most versatile. They tend to be providing butler-style services. And then you have other models like Mr. Gutsy, Miss Nanny, or Mr. Frothy for specific functions. As their line's personality subroutines become more complex, rebooted bots may react unexpectedly or simply default to their core functions, taking orders from the new masters or not. Protectrons were very successful and used everywhere. The programming is basic, so when you restart them, they simply ignore commands and just go about their business. Then finally you have sentry bots, so they're frontline combat bots, and they're more like tanks than humans, singularly devoted to their last orders. Upon reactivation, if they don't recognize military superiors, it's very likely they will assume the PCs are hostile and eliminate them so it can free itself and find its way back to military personnel. So be careful there. But now we get into the cool stuff. So you could mix and match, right? You can build a torso. Could be a Mr. Handy Torso, Protectron, Assaultron, Robo-Brain, or Sentry Bot, all with different complexities. Sentry Bot being the strongest and therefore the most complicated. And they will give you different outcomes. So the Protectron, for example, will give you a carrying capacity of 225 pounds. The Assaultron is toughened against physical damage. And the Sentry Robot provides a robust shell of primary systems and fusion core driven power distribution and a higher carrying capacity. That's pretty cool. You can get different kinds of legs. So the Mr. Handy Thruster is really handy, if you forgive the pun, because you get jet propulsion, it can hover over obstacles. Protectrons walk on chunky bipedal legs, so it kind of waddles a little bit across the landscape. The Assaultron, they provide incredible speed, got hydraulic actuators, but it's also easy to destroy them and create problems. Robo-Brain treads, they enjoy speed, maneuverability, and accessibility across any terrain. Sentry Bot legs, they're incredibly sturdy, maneuverable, and give rapid motion. There's also a bit here about how, if you're a roboticist, you may be able to salvage whole parts from the robots that you defeat in combat. Different heads as well. Protectron head, Mr. Handy Eye Stalk, Assaultron head laser, Robo-Brain head, or Sentry Bot head. Mr. Handy Eye Stalk gives it the 360-degree vision perk. Protectron head gives it a dome of reinforced glass. Assaultron heads are normally fitted with a laser that are mounted in off-the-drop models. Assaultron head laser, specifically, unleashing a continuous beam of energy at its targets, inflicting vicious wounds and melting through modern military armor. An Assaultron head laser provides both a head body part and a head laser. Robo-Brains contains a human brain, of course, and has the best intellectual function. It also has a built-in mesmetron to stun potential living threats momentarily. And the Sentry Bot head can look a little strange proportionally. For possible intimidation factors, the cage-like facepiece houses a single front-facing red eye. Cool. Then you have your arms. They can be from Protectrons, Mr. Handy, Assaultrons, Robo-Brains, or Sentry Bots. So Protectrons, they have opposable 3-fingered claws, and they can also take different hands like heavy-duty construction tools and laser guns. Assaultron arms can be modified to shock enemies in close quarters combat, or be swapped out for blades or other melee weapons, or integrated range weapons. The Robo-Brain arm has reinforced tubular arms that are used to minute tasks but can't carry a lot of weight. They can operate handheld guns without issue. Sentry Bot arms are more like hard points. They typically have Gatlings or missile launchers there. Mr. Handy arms are flexible, and they can take a variety of manipulators, from pincers to titanium saws and laser cutters. You can have up to 3 arms on a Mr. Handy torso. Arm attachments. So you've got things like buzzsaw, construction claw, cryojet, drill, and vice grip, and weapon mods as well, including a shock mod and stun mod. And there are also ways that you can modify a player character robot as well, but you can't swap your head, because that's where personality lives. Your special attributes and skill ranks are not affected by any installation installations of new torsos or arm parts. Your carry weight is adjusted based on your torso. You retain your trait but modify it in the following ways. You always have the effect of a robot. You can install Mr. Handy thruster and gain jet propulsion. Legs are removed, you're immobile. If you install 3 Mr. Handy eye stalks, you gain 360-degree vision. If you remove any eye stalks, you lose that effect. If you install a weapon that can't be integrated into a claw or hand, you cannot manipulate your environment with that arm. All of the modifications must have the agreement of your GM, so be careful of that. Some robots also have a self-destruct feature, which we've seen before. So it's a body plus melee attack centered upon itself and destroys the robot, then inflicts 6 dice physical damage with the blast quality to everybody in close range. You can include some armor plating to your robot if you want, which you'll find in the core rulebook. With completing a robot, you'll then give it a level and type, keywords, their body and mind, which are provided by the torso and head part respectively, melee guns and other skills, which are provided by the appropriate parts, and the base defense derived statistic is 1. The initiative is equal to body plus mind. Health points are body plus level. DR uses the stats of its armor plating for each body part, and the attacks are based on what weapons it wields, either on hard points or carried by hand. You should calculate the target number, damage type, and any qualities for the weapons it uses. You don't need to track ammunition for the range attacks though. The applicable special abilities are noted on the body parts throughout the chapter, and if there's anything in their inventory, then you note it there as well. So how cool is that? You can build a totally new robot to be your companion if you so choose. Or you can modify yourself as a player character robot as well. Now we got loads of equipment in here. So we've got 2 new damage effects, which are useful. We got arc. So this is like, electricity arcing from one object to another, one person to another in this case. Each effect rolled automatically hits 1 additional target within close range of the primary target. Each additional target suffers half the rolled damage, but unlike burst, it does not cost additional ammunition. Very cool. Then we have freeze. So that's basically when you use a cryojet or something similar. So if you're hit by this attack, if the number of effects rolled are equal to or more than half the target's endurance or half the target's body for creatures, then they are frozen, and a frozen creature can't take actions on the next turn. We also have a new quality, just 1, slow loading. So after this weapon has been fired, you must spend a minor action to reload the weapon before you can fire it again. Remember from the core rulebook, generally you don't worry about reloading in this game, but slow loading weapons, you do need a minor action to reload. We've got some new types of ammunition. We've got acid concentrate, which is a corrosive damage. Alien blaster round, so it comes some kind of blue laser blast. We've got cannonballs. We've got cryocells, so this is compressed liquid nitrogen. Gas grenades that release poisonous gas under high pressure. And we have harpoons that are like a spear, but they also have a chance of being recovered once launched, which is handy. Most ammunition you can't do that. So then we have some new guns to go with that. We've got the M79 grenade launcher. Does 6 dice of damage, blast inaccurate, slow load, and 2-handed qualities. We've got smoke claws. They do 4 dice of damage. It's persistent. Damage type is poison, and they have blast and inaccurate qualities. And they have some unique mods for the grenade launcher, and the smoke claw uses gas grenade ammunition. Then we have energy weapons. The acid soaker, 3 dice of breaking persistent poison damage. It has debilitating and inaccurate qualities. Got the alien blaster, 5 dice of vicious energy damage and radiation damage. It's got close quarters and inaccurate qualities. The Assaultron head laser does 5 dice piercing 1 energy damage, close range. Cryojet, 3 dice burst freeze damage, energy damage type, fire rate of 3, and it's inaccurate, close range. The Mesmetron, 3 dice of stun, energy damage, medium range. We've got the Tesla rifle, 4 dice with the new arc quality, fire rate of 2, energy damage, range medium, has the 2-handed quality, and each of these then gets some unique mods. So you can mod the concentrate, the acid soaking itself, to increase the damage, and you can mod the containers to increase the fire rate and the weight of the gun. Alien blasters, you can give them fusion mag, so you change the damage to 3 dice, -1 fire rate, and use fusion cells instead of the strange alien blaster ammo. The Assaultron head. Firing an Assaultron head, by the way, consumes 2 shots of ammunition each time it's fired, but you can mod the capacitor so that they'll do more damage but also consume more shots. And they also increase the weight and the cost, obviously. You've got a cryojet, Mesmetron. They can accept a few mods, the Mesmetron. Cryojets are integrated into the arms of robots and can't be used as a handheld weapon. Mesmetrons use gamma rounds, and they can accept beta wave tuner, sharpshooter grips, and reflex sight mods. Tesla rifles can accept 1 each of the following mods: automatic barrel, splitter barrel, improved barrel, and or reflex sight. It uses fusion cells for power. Then we've got some big guns. I like this, a broadsider. It's an old school naval cannon. Look at that. Does 10 die of breaking damage, physical, of course, and it's got the blast quality as well. Got a cryolator, 4 dice of burst, freezing, and spread damage. And we got the harpoon gun, 12 die of piercing 1 physical damage, and it's debilitating, but it's also inaccurate. And each of those then has its own list of special mods as well, and its own drawing, which I really like. But the broadsider is just badass. I mean, blasting somebody in the face with a cannonball is too cool. We got automatron melee weapons, so these are what you can build on your new automatron companions. So of course we got stats for the buzzsaw, claw, construction claw, drill, and vice grip. The drill damage is vicious and debilitating. The construction claw has breaking, as does the vice grip, and the buzzsaw is piercing. Otherwise the damage is roughly the same. So the drill is the biggest, but is also the heaviest and the most costly. Then we have the claw. You can give it a shock mod or a stun mod to change the damage type and gain stun in the case of the stun mod. Claw, drill, and vice grip don't seem to have mods. And then we're into the game mastering stuff. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. There's some cool stuff in here about game mastering with faction reputations. So they give you example positive and negative influences and the general shape of a faction reputation test. So you count the positive and negative influences relating to the faction in question at the end of a quest or at a meaningful milestone in an ongoing quest. Then you determine a target number, which will be the charisma plus current reputation. You set the difficulty, which is equal to the number of negative influences you've done. Then you assemble a dice pool, so a number of d20s equal to the number of positive influences you have. Then you check for successes. Any d20 that rolls equal to or less than your reputation rating will guarantee 2 successes. Any d20 that rolls a 20 generates a complication and could mean your reputation decreases. If the number of successes rolled equals or beats the difficulty of the reputation test, then you've passed and increased the reputation with the faction by 1 rank. If the number of successes scored is less than difficulty, you have failed and do not increase your reputation. So that's one to keep in mind when you're thinking about reputation tests with different factions, when there's a possibility that the outcome of a quest may have changed your reputation with a faction either positively or negatively. And then we have the effects of the reputation with Brotherhood of Steel as well. And we get the same again for other factions like the Church of the Children of Atom. So there are different positive and negative influences with them, and a list of the effects of your reputation rank. Then there is the Enclave faction as well, which gets a little sidebar there. The Institute is quite feared amongst everybody. They have a reputation as an unknowable bogeyman amongst the settlers and survivors of the Commonwealth. But you can build reputation with them as well, both positive and negative. If you do a reputation test with the Institute, though, you increase the complication range to 18 to 20. If you roll a complication, it represents a decrease in reputation regardless of the positive influences outweighing the negative influences. So that's pretty rough. But you can get some interesting perks if you get a good reputation with the Institute, but I won't spoil those for you. Then we have the Minutemen, another faction. So they don't have a base, but they do still consider themselves as a faction. So there are, of course, positive and negative influences unique to them. They have their own flag as well. Different effects depending on your rank, from hostile to allied. Then we got the New California Republic with the cool bear logo and the lightning bolt they've got. The sprawling state with a lot of settlements, a lot of caravans and stuff. So there are lots of ways to get positive and negative influences there, but it's more of a lawful state. And so, following the rules of democracy and the laws of the place you are is going to be important there. Then we have the Railroad. So these are the only friends of the synths. They try to help the synths escape the control of the Institute, all while their scientists deny their sentience. So the other Commonwealth members don't really trust synths. The Railroad tries to help them get to safety and hopefully blend in with the rest of the population. So you can do quests for the Railroad to either positively or negatively affect your reputation with them. That, of course, has its own side effects. And you can have individual NPC reputations as well if you have particularly important NPCs. If you have a companion, you begin with a reputation rank of 2. So when you try to convince, persuade, or otherwise interact with your companion to get them to do something, you can use your reputation rank instead of a skill rank to create your target number. So individual relationships grow through continued companionship support and positive actions. Completing a quest for them, acting in line with their companion's values, kill one of your companion's enemies, give them gear or supplies, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can increase reputation ranking with your companions or other NPCs as well. And then for your companion, they have their own table here of what happens at different reputation ranks. Synth player characters, there's some interesting stuff here. Third generation synths are often indistinguishable from people. It's important to determine with the group and make sure you establish whether they'd be happy to play out the themes that come with synths in Fallout. So infiltration, betrayal, bigotry, and fear, basically. And do they want to explore that stuff? Do they want to be a party that believes in the emancipation of synths? Would they be happy for the synth to be secret and they just pretend not to know about it, or would they want to know first, or have them find out through roleplay? Because of the synth's weird status and their troubles with the Institute, it's useful to clear these things up before you include a synth character in the game. There's also the issue of them having false memories. If you are a third-gen synth and you find out that your life that you remember was made up and designed by somebody else, that can be a lot to deal with, and some people may or may not want to deal with that. So, it's something you can easily exclude from the game if you don't feel like it. There's some talk here about building an identity for a settlement. Creating interesting new settlements is a great way to allow your characters to impact the wasteland, provide compelling quests for them to undertake, and new locations for them to explore. See, that's exactly what I was talking about before. So there are 3 key features that help establish its unique place for a settlement in a wasteland: location, defenses, and trade. And all of that feeds into the themes and tone of a settlement from a narrative and storytelling standpoint. So the guidelines here are to help you kind of establish those 3 main themes and thus give a unique vibe to the settlements that you create. So when describing your settlement's location, you need to think about its infrastructure, size, resources, theme and tone, proximity to other factions and settlements, and their necessities that they need, which of course are people, food and water, power, defense, beds, happiness, and income, as we know. And they give a nice example here of deconstructing Diamond City, which is a well-known settlement, given these basic themes. So, what kind of infrastructure, size, resources, theme and tone, and proximity to other factions and settlements does it have, and then how does it do on these different scores as far as its necessities. So that's really useful for the GM to have this worked example of how to determine these and give a certain tone and vibe to your settlement. Then we have defenses. So, a settlement could have general defenses. The residents are capable of in combat or, well trained. They could have preventative natural defenses. They could have, a good reputation, which is protective in its own way. They could also have some weak points that might be exploited. Yeah, they give another example here of deconstructing a settlement called Covenant's defenses. So, they talk about the general defenses, pre-existing or natural defenses, preventative measures, reputation, and weak points, and then how that affects their settlement necessities as well. Then they talk about trade, which was the third key element. Again, when you're thinking about this for your settlement that you want to create in the game environment, what might they import and export? What would be the trade routes from that settlement? How often do caravans arrive? Is it an isolated settlement where there's fairly infrequent supplies? They need to do a lot of foraging and so forth. And what unique USPs do they have? Like, what things can they provide to other settlements through trade? And then how does all of that affect your settlement necessities as well? And once again, we have a worked example of the settlement of Good Neighbor. What do they import and export? It's a busy drinking den hotel bar, so they have criminal underworld and a lot of liquor, illegally traded chems. They also have trade routes because of being centrally located within Boston. And they have the Memory Den as a unique business and service. And then founding and improving settlement quests. This is again really handy. So these are quests that you can kind of use as a baseline for creating something interesting out of the need to just build up and maintain the settlement. So taking out the trash. So, they may need to get rid of sort of vermin or ghouls, or they may have some ornery residents that are taking up space and causing trouble. You got to get rid of them. They might be a real estate roundup. Maybe the Minutemen come to you and ask for your aid in founding a new settlement. You could survey each site, decide what's best, and make it safe and prepare it for new residents. And they give you some examples about the locations. There's a super mutant surplus, so you come across 4 severely injured super mutants. Yeah. They assume that you're part of a gunner group that attacked and destroyed their settlement, and then if they believe you, then you can approach them. If you agree to raid a nearby Federal Reserve and deliver the weapons, medicine, and fortification supplies stored there and help them recover their settlement, he and his group will be allies with you. So that could be pretty cool to have a bunch of allies of 4 giant super mutants. Trader woes. So the characters arrive at a truck stop, a small settlement that hasn't seen a caravan in weeks. And they want you to meet with the local caravan boss to strike a deal and get them on one of the regular trade routes. So there's debts involved and things get complicated. Got Showbiz Blues. Juliet Gardland is a young entrepreneur and self-proclaimed actress looking to bring theater back to the wasteland in her home of Little Downtown. She's tired of how rundown and dreary Little Downtown is and hopes the theater will attract more business. So you can help her to gather caps to do the necessary repairs on a rundown pre-war theater building. Recover other media to come up with ideas for cool shows and stuff that you can show off at the theater. So that's kind of fun. Then there's some info here for GMs about making and maintaining allies. So, what could motivate characters to do that? So, for example, their settlement could be under threat. They might need additional resources through trade, so they really need an allyship to form so that they can have a beneficial trade relationship. They already may have sort of informal allies, like you tend to run into people from certain factions in your settlement location. And if you make it a formal allyship, you might get some more benefits from that general happenstance. It could also be a personal goal for a member of the party. Maybe they want to get closer to a settlement that inspires them in some way, ally or has something that they need personally. It can help you prevent conflict by reducing the possibility of communication breakdown. So if you keep good communication with your allies, you're less likely to end up fighting when things get tough. Finally, there might be secret ulterior motives. Maybe you're pretending to be allied with another settlement or vice versa, and actually eventually they want to take your ass over. And of course there are faction motivations as well for allyship. So Brotherhood of Steel doesn't really care much for allyship unless they think that, you have enough skills or knowledge that would help them. Raiders and gunners often tend to try and take control of stuff, amass weaponry and hassle settlements. They're good at using threats and violence, but if you manage to achieve an alliance with them, they might be convinced to stop attacking a settlement or even help protect it. If you build an alliance with the Institute, that's a bit risky because their motives are going to be secretive. They may be based on something you don't want, like them finding an escaped synth or fishing for info about your technology or doing some kind of weird experimentation on your settlement. But whatever they do will almost always be stacked in their favor over yours. The Railroad is a well-meaning but secretive collective that protects the synths. So if they believe that you share their values, then they may well reach out to you trying to establish better safe houses, homes for freed synths, or for residents who can help them to free synths from the clutches of the Institute. Finally, the Minutemen, they're a volunteer militia, so they really value this ideology of protecting others over themselves. And if you are of a similar state of mind, then they might well offer you to bring them into the fold, or they may contact new settlements to bring them into their sort of sphere of protection and provide them access to a broad range of allies. And then they give you some example quests for maintaining or making allies, which you could set up. There's a bunch of those as well. Now, attacking settlements is an interesting one. So there are different ways to attack a settlement. One of them is just outright violence, ranging from a small scale gunfight to heavy artillery. It could be political attacks, so maybe a faction might try to attack you to weaken your leadership. Or it could be infiltration and disruption, so they might send somebody into your settlement and try and break it down from the inside. What would be the motivation behind that? Well, maybe the settlement pose a threat to the faction's goals. Maybe there's ideological differences, so they just want you out of the way because you don't fit their vision of how society should be. Maybe they just want your resources, like they're raiders, and they want your tech or your power sources. They might be allied with a faction that's opposed to you, and so taking you down would actually help that alliance, which is more important to them. They might just want the territory, which could be maybe contested with another faction, and they just want to gain that territory and the resources of your settlement to succeed in having an advantage over their enemy. There could be some kind of personal vendetta involved. Maybe they really hate your settlement leader or vice versa, so they come to blows that affect the whole settlement. There could be some kind of communication breakdown, so rumors and distrust build up, leading to former allies to fight each other. Or it could be that the player characters bring conflict to a settlement's doorstep, either because they found something really awesome and too many people know about it and they follow them, create grievances with other factions, or other stuff like that. I'm going to give some examples of why the various factions might be motivated to attack the settlement, including the Brotherhood of Steel, Raiders and Gunners, the Institute, the Railroad, and the Minutemen. Then again, we have some possible quest hooks here for attacking settlements. Nice examples of the variety of ways that you can work settlement attacks into a quest line and make it feel sort of consequential and interesting. Now, rescuing a settlement. So if a settlement that's allied to you is under attack or just nearby and you want to help them out, there could be different motivations for that. You might be obligated to do so through a defense agreement. Maybe you want to get some kind of reward. So you think, well, if we saved them, they'll give us caps or supplies or something because we helped them out. You may just want access to that settlement because you're trying to get somewhere else and you need a place to trade, get some resources, complete other quests, etc. You may feel a sense of duty because the settlement shares your ideology, or you may have a common enemy. So if you keep them alive, then you strike a blow against your existing rival that was trying to make this attack. Again, they give example motivations for each of the different factions and why they might mount a rescue mission for an allied settlement. And again, some sample quest lines for rescuing settlements and how that could turn into something quite impactful and interesting in the game. And there's a number of these as well. So finally, we're in the final chapter here, so we get a whole load of new NPCs. I won't cover these in super detail, again, because, a lot of these are going to be people that you will want to encounter in your journeys, and it's more fun to discover them for yourselves. So it also gives some notes here on you can convert any of the human settlers here into super mutants or third-gen synths or ghouls by doing the changes listed here. So the settlers are listed as basic humans, and then you can change them to any of those three other species by just following those simple changes. So settlers, so these are people that you would probably want in your settlement to do certain things. You've got a carpenter, so they're good at building stuff. They have tag skills in melee weapons and repair, and they also have the carpentry ability. They can be tasked with building structures. We've got the doctor, always useful to fix up people who have been, suffering damage from radiation or raiders or horrible creatures or whatever. And of course, they have tag skills in medicine and science, which makes sense. And they have a high intelligence to go along with that. They got medical training and scrubs, so they can work at a clinic, medical center, or chem store in a settlement. And they reduce difficulty of first aid action by 1. Farmers, they need to maintain the crops and the longevity of fields, even in the wastelands, irradiated soil. They can help rear animals as well. They have crop farmer and animal husbandry special abilities. So they can attend to an additional 2 crops per day over a normal settler when they're farming crops. And they double the amount of items gained from a slain animal when they make a successful endurance plus survival test for animal butchery. And they have a high endurance as well, and tag skills in barter and survival, which makes sense. Mama Murphy, so she's an older woman from the town of Quincy. She has an apparent ability as a seer, so when using chems, she can induce a trance-like state where she perceives things happening elsewhere as well as past and future events. She cannot always tell whether she's looking to the past, present, or future, but she tries to forewarn and protect people. But, there's always a bit of mystery to what she's saying. She's a major character at level 6, and she's got a perception of 10, and intelligence of 9, 8 luck. She's got quite good stats in general. Tag skills in barter, medicine, speech, and survival. 25 HP, 20 initiative, and 1 defense. And she has a special ability of the sight. So once per week, she can use Jet, Buff Out, Mentats, Med-X, or Psycho and describe a vision of the past, present, or future according to the GM's choice. To request this of Mama Murphy, the player must have a reputation of 4 or more with the settlement she resides in, or succeed at a Charisma plus speech test with a difficulty of 3, and must provide one of the listed chems. Each time Mama Murphy uses the sight after the 4th time, roll 1 die. On an effect, she describes the final vision and then dies from an overdose. Ooh. Pretty wild. We've got resident militiamen. These are useful. So look at that big old gun she's got in the skull and crossbones belt buckle. I like that. These resident militia will keep order on the streets and keep trouble out of the settlement. So they've got tag skills of melee weapons and small guns, and they are able to do unarmed strikes, beat people with tire irons, and use a long bolt action pipe rifle for 5 die physical damage, piercing 1, fire rate 0, medium range, 2-handed, and unreliable. But they are militia, so when they fight on their own settlement, any tests to navigate difficult terrain and spot dangers or hazards are reduced by 1. Pretty handy. Then you have a settlement leader, which is really good to have. I mean, I think having a player as leader is a lot of responsibility, and it might make them feel a bit confined, so having an NPC do it is pretty cool. So here's an example, level 6 leader. They have tag skills in speech, survival, and barter. They have a 44 pistol and an unarmed strike, but their special abilities are more about politics. They give a good first impression, meaning they can reroll a single d20 on 1 charisma-based skill test they make each scene, and they're a local leader, so they can establish supply lines between friendly settlements. They also have formal clothing with ballistic weave, so they get a little bit of resistance against physical damage from that. We've got tinkerers, so these are inventors and people who like to take scrap and junk and broken stuff and make them useful again. They've got a decent intelligence of 7 and tag skills in repair and science. They have attacks with unarmed strike, a hooked pipe wrench, 4 die physical damage, and a pipe gun, 3 dice physical damage, fire rate 2, close range, and close quarters. They have the tinkering special abilities, so they can make an in-plus repair test to install a mod. They can attempt a mod which would normally require the first rank of a perk without actually having the perk, and the difficulty of the test increased by 2 in that case. So here's a Minuteman General, a prestigious title and a notable character as a result. They have some pretty good stats, a number of 7s and an 8 in agility, with tag skills in energy and small guns and speech. They have physical damage resistance of 2 in the arm, legs, and torso, energy DR of 3, arms, leg, and torso, and they can do unarmed strike, a bash with a gun with stun effects for 3 die, physical damage, and we have a laser musket for 6 dice, energy damage, piercing 1, range medium, and 2-handed. So got the special ability of Commander, so you can use their action to grant a Minuteman under their command an additional action of their choosing. If that action requires a test, the Minuteman gains an additional 1d20 to the roll. Well, that's cool. There's a lot of typos in this book. I have to say that. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to be. Unfortunate, but it hasn't really been a huge issue up until then, really. I've got Minutemen Recruits. These are the more normal level guys. They got reasonable stats at level 4, tag skills and small guns and survival. They can do an unarmed strike for 2 die physical damage, a laser pistol for 4 dice energy damage, piercing 1, fire rate 2, close range and close quarters, and they can let a rip as well. So handy to have around. Minuteman Veteran. They're again a higher level, level 7, tag skills and energy weapons and small guns. They do unarmed strikes for 2 die damage as per usual. Gun Bash, 3 dice physical damage with stun. And the Laser Musket does 5 energy damage, piercing 1, range, medium, and 2-handed. And their Laser Musket consumes 2 shots of ammunition each time it is fired. Each capacitor mod increases the damage and the number of shots consumed, but you can reduce the number of shots, reducing the damage by -1 die for each shot consumed, fewer than normal, to a minimum of 4 dice damage and 1 shot consumed. I'm missing close parenthesis there. Come on, guys. I love my good grammar. We got Preston Garvey, the leader of the volunteer militia group known as the Minutemen. Oh, he's the leader. Okay. He's got tag skills in energy weapon, small gun, speech, and survival. He can do arm strike and gun bash, we've seen before. He's got his own laser musket. Target number 13, 6 dice energy damage, piercing 1, accurate, long range, 2-handed, and spread. Cool. Consumes 3 shots of ammunition each time it is fired, but you can reduce them by -1 die each time to a minimum of 4 dice damage and 1 shot consumed. Modded with a beam focuser, a short scope, and a 3 crank capacitor. Then we've got some NCR recruits. So they have tag skills on small guns and survival. They have physical DR of 2 in the head, 1 in the body, arms, leg, and torso for energy. That's weird. They have unarmed strike, 10mm pistol with 4 dice physical damage, fire rate 2, close range, close quarters, and reliable. They've got gun bash and hunting rifle for 6 dice physical damage, piercing 1, fire rate 0, medium range, and 2-handed. And they can let rip as well. And we have the NCR Sergeant. Look at him smoking his cigar, looking cool. So he looks like he should be in the G.I. Joe RPG. Got small guns, speech, and unarmed as tag skills, 8 agility, and a bunch of 7s in his other stats. Pretty good. +1 die melee bonus, 2 physical DR on the head and torso, 2 energy DR on the head and torso, and 1 in the arms and legs. Then he's got a unarmed strike, 10mm pistol, gun bash, combat rifle for 5 die physical damage, fire rate 2, medium range, 2-handed, and a combat knife, 4 dice physical damage, piercing 1. He's also got the commander ability, like we saw on the Minutemen General, and can let rip as well. The NCR Trooper, they are the kind of standard forces of the NCR. They have tag skills in athletics and small guns. They could do unarmed strike, 10mm pistol, gun bash, combat knife, which is in this case is 3 dice physical damage, piercing 1, and a combat rifle for 5 dice physical, fire rate 2, medium range, and 2-handed. And they can also let rip, which is pretty useful. And we've got Craig Boone, another G.I. Joe looking fella with a cool hat. Retired NCR 1st Recon Sniper. Got 9 in perception and 10 in agility, and it's 8 in strength. Wow. Tag skills in melee weapon, small gun, survival, and unarmed. Got 1 physical and energy DR in arms, leg, and torso. He can do a unarmed strike for 3 dice physical damage, 4 dice physical damage gun bash with stun. He's got a scoped hunting rifle, target number 14, 6 dice physical damage, piercing 1, long range, 2-handed, and accurate. And he's got a machete with 4 dice physical damage, piercing 1. And he has a special ability, 1st Recon Sniper. If he takes the aim minor action, he may make a range attack at 1 range further than a weapon's listed range without suffering a difficulty increase. Furthermore, he gains a bonus D20 when making tests that use perception to spot hidden targets. Cool. Then we've got some characters from the Railroad. So there's an informant. So these guys pass on information they see or come across as part of their daily lives. They have tag skills in lockpick and speech, and they're not much use in a fight, so they have 2 dice of unarmed strike, 3 die pipe gun with unreliable, fire rate 2, but they do have railroad contacts. They can pass along messages in code to other railroad contacts, written or verbal, without arousing suspicion by making charisma speech test with a difficulty of 2. If successful, they pass along the message without being discovered. They can also let rip with their pipe gun, but again, that's kind of a desperate move for these guys. I got a railroad spy, so they blend in well wherever they're placed and take their roles seriously. They can do unarmed strike, and they have a 44 caliber pistol for 6 dice physical damage with vicious, fire rate 1, close range, and close quarters qualities. This is the baseline stat block, it says here. So if you want to have them interact with the PCs for a length of time, you should develop them a bit further, and particularly their cover identities. Their special abilities, they have railroad contacts, just as we saw before. They're also a railroad spy. They have a number of fleshed out cover identities equal to half the charisma stat. Each cover identity includes a fake name, an appropriate set of clothing, weapons, tools, and other items in order to fit their cover story. They can move between these cover identities at any time, providing they have access to their supplies. Recognizing a railroad spy when they are undercover as one of their cover identities requires a successful perception or int plus sneak test with a difficulty of 3. They can also let rip with their 44. So that's pretty awesome. We have the Deacon, a man shrouded in mystery. A former gang member who found himself joining the Railroad, and the rest is history. He's a skilled combatant and an even better spy, and has very good stats to match. He's got tag skills in lockpick, sneak, speech, and survival. Pretty useless in combat, relatively, with just 2 dice physical unarmed strike, and 3 dice pipe gun. But he's got railroad contact, master railroad spy. So he has a number of cover identities equal to his charisma stat, which is 9, by the way. And to recognize Deacon as himself requires a perception or int plus sneak test with a difficulty of 5. Wow, so he's a really good spy. It's also recommended that you customize his inventory to suit the cover identity he's using when the players meet him. Alright, so then we have Institute agents. Undertake missions for the Institute above ground. They've got armed strikes, Institute lasers with 3 dice energy damage, burst, fire rate 3, close range, close quarters, and inaccurate. Special abilities include Institute access, so they can use teleport technology to enter and leave the Institute as a major action, and they can let rip. So they can just teleport outside. That's awesome. Institute workers are the synths and humans who provide most of the Institute's less skilled labor. They're treated as well as needed to keep them alive and healthy, but are otherwise undervalued and replaced easily when required. Oh boy. All they have is an armed strike, an Institute jumper, and 1 wealth. Tag skills in science and repair. The agents, by the way, have tag skills in energy weapons, science, and speech. Then we've got X688, wearing patrolman sunglasses and standard issue Corsair uniform. He's a highly skilled Institute operative designed for the riskiest infiltration and combat missions. So he's a level 13 synth with very high stats, as you can see. He's got tag skills in athletics, energy weapons, sneak, and survival. 31 HP, 23 initiative, 3 dice physical unarmed strike. He's got a special Institute laser, 5 dice energy damage, piercing 1, vicious, burst, fire rate 3, close range, and inaccurate. And he's got a 10mm pistol, 4 dice physical damage, fire rate 2, close range, close quarters, reliable. 3rd generation synth that passes a human. He's also a robot with all the qualities therein, including immunity to poison, radiation, disease. He also has Institute access, so he can use a teleporter to enter and leave the Institute as a major action. And a great piece of art for him as well. And we got trade caravan people. So we've got the armor skills in barter and repair that are tagged. Got 2 DR on the torso, legs, and arms for physical, 2 energy DR on the torso, and 3 for legs and arms. And he's got a double-barreled shotgun for his range attack, 5 dice physical damage, spread, vicious, close range, inaccurate, and 2-handed. He's got armor 2, so he can unlock up to rank 2 armor mods. He's got science 1 and blacksmith 1 as well. So he's good for unlocking and using some mods. The Caravan Boss, he's a notable character at level 9. It refers you to the core rulebook here to check out his inventory and, of course, how many caps they have and so forth. He got tag skills, of course, in barter, speech, and small guns. He has an unarmed strike and a 44 pistol with 6 dice of damage, vicious, fire rate 1. He's got special abilities of Adept Negotiator, so when making an opposed barter test, he can reroll 1d20 automatically, and he can let rip with his 44 pistol as well. We've got a Caravan Guard, level 5. They've got tag skills and small guns and unarmed combat. We got a bit of physical and energy damage resistance. They've got a unarmed strike, which is not bolded. Come on, guys. 2 dice physical damage, 5 dice combat rifle, physical damage, fire rate 2, medium range, 2-handed. A combat shotgun, 5 die physical damage, spread, fire rate 2, close range, inaccurate, and 2-handed. And he's got the special ability Bodyguard, so that allows him to spend 2 AP to take the damage instead of the original target if their original target is somebody within reach of them. They can also let rip with their combat shotgun. Then we have a chem dealer, so they have skills in barter and science that are tagged, and they can attack with unarmed strikes, switchblades, so 2 dice physical damage, piercing 1, and concealed, and a 10mm pistol, 4 dice physical damage, fire rate 2, close range, close quarters, and reliable. And they have the chem expert ability, so they can craft any chem that requires the chemist perk, and additionally they can craft chems that last twice as long, although they charge twice as much for that specialty. And they can let her rip as well. Got weaponsmiths, so they have tag skills in repair and small guns, some physical and energy DR, and they can attack with a powerful assault rifle, 7 dice physical damage, burst, fire rate 2, medium range, 2-handed, ripper, 4 dice physical damage, and vicious. Their special abilities, they've got gun nut 2 for modding, science 1, blacksmith 2, and plenty of ammo, so they can let rip twice per combat with a volley from their powerful assault rifle, which adds a fire rate of 2 to the weapon's damage for a single attack for 9 dice total. We've got a scavenger, so just a lowly level 3, but they've got skills in lockpick and barter, 10mm pistol, tire iron for 3 dice physical damage, and they've got the special abilities of Scrapper 1, which lets them get uncommon components. They've got utility coveralls to carry +5 more weight. They've got the salvager talent to salvage more stuff, and they can let rip with their lowly pistol. We've got Alice McLafferty. She's head of the Crimson Caravan Company in New California, one of the Wasteland's most successful business owners, so she's quite ruthless in business. She's got tag skills in barter, repair, sneak, and speech. She can do an unarmed strike or a 4 dice energy damage laser gun with piercing 1, fire rate 2, close quarters, and close range. She's a friend of the NCR, so any charisma test against NCR characters is reduced in difficulty by 1. She's also a renowned caravan boss, so once per scene she gets a bonus 1d20 when making tests related to building business connections, business deals, or intimidating others using her position and status. She's also an adept negotiator, and she can do let rip as well. Then we have various sample trade company names for other trade caravans. Then we've got some robot companion stat blocks. Robo Brain at level 10 with their smoke claws, 4 dice persistent poison damage, medium range blast and inaccurate, Mesmetron, which is 3 dice stun energy damage, and the Tesla gun, 4 dice arc energy damage, range M. Of course, they are a robot, immune to poison, radiation, disease. They've also got keen senses and night vision, which is very cool. And they have the salvage ability as well. And this is just one variation, so you can also use the automatron rules to customize the Robo Brain or indeed any of the robots here. And we have an example, Assaultron Invader at level 15. So a body and mind of 10 and 6 respectively, pretty high. Electro Claws for 9 dice of energy damage and stun. Laser guns with 9 dice vicious energy damage, range L. And Self-Destruct also has the robot ability, immune to poison, immune to radiation, immune to diseases, keen senses, and night vision as well, plus the salvage talent. Very useful. Got the Assaultron Dominator. Look at this badass thing. Very, very cool. Body 11, mind 8, 8 melee, 6 in guns, and 5 in other. Level 17. Wow. 4 physical DR everywhere, 4 energy DR everywhere, and immune to rad and poison, of course. It's got blade arms for 12 dice physical damage, piercing 1 and vicious. Lasers for 9 dice vicious energy damage, long range. Immune to poison, immune to rads, immune to disease, keen senses, self-destruct, night vision, and stealth, which means that it can activate its stealth tech as a minor action, rendering it invisible until it makes an attack. Difficulty to spot it increases by 2, and its defense increases by 2. Stealth ends when it makes an attack, suffers damage, or at the end of its next turn. And they also have the salvage ability again. Very, very cool. Then we got an Annihilator Sentry Bot. Look at that badass guy with his big red eye. He's at level 17 again, 11 body, 6 mind, 4 melee, 5 guns, 4 other, 58 HP, 7 damage resistance to physical, 6 to energy. Got a chain gun, 7 die physical damage, burst, spread, fire rate 5, Gatling, and medium range. Unarmed attacks do 8 dice of physical damage with vicious, and mortar launchers do 11 dice physical damage with blast, piercing 1, and long range. Of course, it's got all the robot stuff, immune to poison, immune to rads, immune to disease, keen senses that are upgraded, so they reduce the difficulty of all perception tests by 2. They have self-destruct, they are aggressive, so they get 1 AP immediately upon entering the scene, and they can let rip from its chain gun. Adds twice the weapon's fire rate of 5 to the weapon's damage for a single attack for 17 dice total. Further, it may hit additional targets with the burst quality without spending ammo. That is a lot of damage, folks. Then we have Ada, another cool image there. Ada is an Assaultron model who's been heavily modified by a trader named Jackson, a level 7 robot, a bit more reasonable opponent than some of the others. Attack skills and athletics, energy weapons, and repair, and unarmed, so it's statted up as a major character. It's got an Assaultron claw, 11 die physical damage, ouch, and a laser, 9 die energy damage with vicious and long range, ouch again. She's got robot, immune to poison, immune to rad, immune to disease, keen senses, night vision, robotics expert 2 perk, so she can do some mods and stuff, and the salvage talent as well. Then we got turrets, so some new turrets here that can be used in your settlements for defending both internally and externally. The Tesla turret is really cool, so this gives you 5 dice of arc energy damage, which can also has the stun quality. It functions as a robot, so it's got all those typical characteristics. It's also small, it's got the little quality, and it's got the Tesla arc. It must be able to see its target for the first attack, but may choose to attack the same target in subsequent turns, even if it is in cover and within medium range. That's very cool. We have a shotgun turret as well. So they're freestanding floor-based systems that fire shotgun shells. They cause a large amount of damage at short range. So they do, in fact, 5 dice physical damage spread close range. Functions as a robot, so you can salvage from it, and you'll get 3d20 shotgun rounds and 2 dice uncommon materials. Then we have a missile turret, so this is statted up as a robot as well. Body 7, mind 6, guns 5, the other 0. It's a robot with the usual immunities. You can salvage from it to get missiles and some uncommon and rare materials. Pretty cool. And his missile launchers do 11 dice physical damage with long range and blast qualities. Then we got some new traps. So the Tesla arc trap, tripwire pressure plate. Of course, we have the different base difficulties to spot, but those can be modified by darkness, camouflage, and how well they're hidden and obscured from view. Different types of damage will result from each of these traps. So we got Tesla arc traps, which do stun energy damage. We got flamethrower traps, persistent energy damage, spike traps with 4 physical damage, trap doors, and can be combined with other traps or a long drop, spring traps that launch people for 2 dice physical, a grenade bouquet, tripwire triggered with 6 dice physical blast damage per grenade, maximum of 3 grenades per bouquet. A radiation emitter has proximity detectors and floods it with 3 dice of radiation. Jury-rigged guns are triggered by a tripwire or tension trigger. Very varies depending on what gun you use. Clapping cymbal monkey, it just produces sound audible to anyone in medium range, so it's kind of a proximity detector. And then we have discussion of the different kinds of triggers, types of traps themselves, and traps as scavenging locations. So you can use these for great hazards when you're building up a scavenger's location. Then we got an ad for Achtung Cthulhu, which is another great game that I should talk about more at some point. And we've got a new sheet for your settlement, so you can put all of its main attributes up here. You can give it a name, overall happiness and income score, settlers and their jobs, stockpiles, and what you have in their quantity, the structures and rooms that you have, and any special notes about it. So very handy to use. And there you go. That is the Settler's Guide for Fallout 2D20. Again, I think it's a wonderful book to have for the game if you're into what I'm into, which is, emergent gameplay and sandboxing around in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. This is the book you need. I love the settlement rules. They are complex compared to some other games like Mutant Year Zero, which also has good settlement rules, but they're less complex than this. But I think, they've established a certain baseline of crunchiness with the main game, and this sort of is about the same level of that. To me, it's not a big deal because I've played games much crunchier than this in my life. I mean, look at how many Starfleet Battles videos I've done as one example. So to me, it's no big deal. But certain players may not like having that level of detail. But I think it's fun to think about your settlement as a living place where people have individual jobs and they go out and they do things, and those things then directly affect the settlement. I think that's really interesting and cool. I hope you enjoyed that. If you do, please leave a like and subscribe just to keep me going, keep me motivated. If you fancy it, do feel free to throw me a couple of quid via the Ko-fi.com link in my description. Anything that you send me via donations will just be used to buy more stuff for the channel. I have a day job. This is never going to be my real job. I just do this because I like RPGs and I want to share more of them with you guys. My substantial collection is a lot left to show, but it's always nice to have new stuff as well. So yeah, I hope that was useful to those of you who are Fallout fans. If you're interested in the kind of gameplay that I described, this is definitely for you. If you're more into wandering about the wasteland and having mobile adventures, then we'll look at the Wanderer's Guidebook in my next video, and hopefully that will be much more to your taste. It's also got loads of cool vehicles in there, so I do look forward to that for the next video. In the meantime, I hope to see you in the comments below and when we next cover the Wanderer's Guidebook next time around. So I'll see you then. Until then, take care, stay in good health, and see you soon. All right, bye-bye.